A second chance at life is the ultimate fantasy. But for ordinary salaryman Takeru Kamishiro, it was a terrifying ultimatum. He was suddenly ripped from his boring, clockwork existence, standing before a cosmic entity who told him he had already died in the real world. His only choice was rebirth on the dying planet of Medeus, tasked with saving its constantly collapsing civilizations. The problem? He was given virtually no combat skills. No hero's sword, no fighting experience, just overwhelming raw magic power he couldn't control, and an odd team to search for materials. He arrived utterly alone, financially ruined, and immediately facing starvation. This was a high-stakes survival game, where the world's salvation, or his own demise, hinged entirely on him learning to scavenge quickly. The cosmic entity wasted no time on pleasantries, getting straight to the point about Takeru's new role as the world's reluctant messiah. After processing the shocking news of his death, Takeru, recalling his mundane previous life, settled on his new priority, a desirable companion. He politely requested a cute companion. The god, amused by the simplicity of the wish, simply assured him he would encounter many desirable partners on his journey. Equipped with maxed-out mana reserves, automatic global language translation, and an infinitely large storage bag, a glorified grocery tote, really, Takeru was unceremoniously dumped into a dense, unknown forest. He looked around at the towering trees and the alien sky, quickly realizing the divine intervention hadn't provided a roadmap, only the raw, often confusing tools he needed to figure out his own survival. Upon awakening, Takeru's immediate thought was, naturally, food. He remembered his single, crucial cheat skill, the search magic. Excitedly, he tried to activate the spell, but it failed completely. He felt a deep surge of shame and frustration, realizing that magic in this world wasn't intuitive. It required an unexpected, almost bureaucratic step. He had to scrawl the Japanese command in the dirt to make it work. As the spell activated, the world was instantly transformed. Holographic icons indicating rare materials lit up everything around him, even the weeds and pebbles. He systematically differentiated the symbols, learning the hidden language of the gatherer. Clovers meant herbs, diamonds meant minerals, and hearts symbolized life energy. The first high-value item he scanned was moonite grass, listed as a rare B-rank material. Takeru had been reborn not as a warrior, but as a master scavenger, and he embraced his new role instantly. He resolved to become the greatest gatherer merchant Medeus had ever seen, if only to afford a decent meal. Takeru spent hours tirelessly filling his infinite storage bag with every marked item he could find, quickly amassing an unbelievable haul of high-quality goods. He made his way to Tormi village and, introducing himself as a traveling merchant, encountered the curious village guard Marlowe. At the general store, the shopkeeper was instantly stunned, not by Takeru's awkward height, but by the sheer overwhelming quality and volume of his inventory. Takeru, who had only been gathering for a few hours, received 300,000 raves for his collection, an equivalent of roughly $20,000 US. He had gone from disposable salaryman to unexpectedly rich commodity broker in a single afternoon. The shopkeeper, assuming Takeru was a legendary specialist, immediately tasked him with a perilous mission: retrieve rare Misral ore from a remote mountain. That night, at the inn, he received a small but shocking dose of reality. The inn had no public baths. Only nobility could afford that luxury. Takeru, a man now capable of cosmic feats, was forced to settle for a simple cleansing spell, his dignity permanently wounded by the lack of a proper soak. Takeru's quest led him deep into the feared forest of ancient dragons. He noticed the strange, unsettling absence of monsters. Perhaps they were scared of his power, or maybe the rumors were simply false. Pushing onward, he suddenly lost his footing on a treacherous slope and fell into a deep cave entrance. Landing safely thanks to his magic, he continued his search for the Misrael, but instead made a much grimmer discovery: the skeleton of Belria Fend. The fallen warrior had succumbed here, and Takeru found a simple necklace and a heartbreaking letter from the man's family, pleading for him to return home before it was too late. It was a tragic, sobering moment, showing Takeru that the quiet, desperate dangers of this new world were just as deadly as the mythical ones. Takeru honored the dead, digging a proper grave and saying a prayer, acknowledging the anonymous sacrifice. Before resting, he mixed scavenged materials into a makeshift Takeru's soup that, against all odds, was surprisingly delicious, proving his gathering skills extended to cooking. Deeper inside the cave, the environment grew unstable. Takeru successfully located the first deposits of the requested Misril ore, gathering a small but valuable amount. But the earth began to shake violently, rumbling with escalating intensity. Ignoring the clear danger, Takeru pressed on, driven solely by the promise of more valuable loot and the need to complete his quest. That's when he stumbled upon it, a pool of water that glowed faintly, the purest and cleanest he had ever seen in either world. Scanning it, he found the frightening truth. It was SS-rank underground magic element water, and it was explicitly listed as belonging to the ancient dragon of the underworld. Despite the clear warning, Takeru, driven by foolhardy overconfidence, couldn't resist the draw of the high-ranked material. He took a drink. This action was his immediate undoing. His massive, unstable mana reserves flared violently upon contact with the sacred water, instantly awakening the beast from its deep slumber. A terrifying, earth-shaking scream echoed, and the colossal dragon, Voldius, emerged from the pool's depths in a torrent of ancient magic, demanding to know who dared disturb his sacred domain. Takeru reacted instinctively, dropping to the ground in a deep bow, a habit drilled into him from 20 years of apologizing to his boss. He apologized profusely, explaining he was merely a gatherer. The dragon, however, was not concerned with politeness. He was shocked by Takeru's sheer amount of mana, noting it was on par with his own. Voldius then made a stunning, transactional request. His child's egg would not hatch because it was tainted by miasma, and he needed Takeru to use his unique, clean mana to save it. The reward for this terrifying task was the rest of the Misril ore Takeru came for. Takeru agreed, but his attempt to heat the egg with his power caused a sudden, violent explosion of pure magic. He was overwhelmed and fell into the water, briefly losing consciousness. In that instant of darkness, a second deity appeared, a universal middle manager, who angrily noted that Takeru, by involving himself with the dragon, had fundamentally broken the balance of Medeus already. Takeru was nearly erased by the sheer force of the resulting chaos, facing a second death just moments after starting his new life. Takeru awoke, sputtering for breath, relieved to see Voldius still there. More importantly, the egg had hatched. A tiny, dirty baby dragon suddenly bounded onto him, licking his face, and it was dirty. Voldius, explaining that Takeru was the stronger parent and the baby had imprinted on his mana, declared the baby was now his to raise, fulfilling Takeru's wish for a cute companion. The dragon, whom Takeru affectionately named B, was now his ward. Voldius then gave Takeru the promised Misril ore and retreated back into his pool, instructing Takeru to leave. The salaryman, who began with nothing but a search function, had now accidentally formed the most shocking contract in the world of Medeus. He left the ancient forest not with a sword, but with a literal mythical beast in tow. The greatest threat now wasn't monsters or starvation, figuring out how the world's quietest gatherer could possibly keep a baby dragon a secret in Tormi village.
Takeru and B finally exited the ancient dragon's cave just as the sun was setting. B, seeing the world outside for the first time, zipped around happily, vibrating with pure, unadulterated energy. Takeru knew they had limited daylight left, so he quickly decided to set up a temporary camp nearby. His first priority was B. He filled a glass with the magical lake water, the special tonic the ancient dragon, Voldius, had magically linked to Takeru's inventory. This water was absolutely necessary for B's growth, feeding her rare status. She quickly finished the first glass, and then, in a truly surprising moment of maturity, she kindly handed the full glass back to Takeru, wanting him to drink the nutritious water too. Takeru, the supposed weak gatherer, reluctantly took a drink, Next, Takeru focused on defense and comfort. He used his own mana to instantly generate rare magic stones to create a barrier, skipping the lengthy hassle of speaking full spells out loud. He knew magic stones were considered incredibly rare in this world. A shame he didn't need any of the scarcity. He concentrated heat magic and created a controlled flame stone for cooking. With the fire ready, Takeru began preparing a hearty meat stew. Bee started drooling uncontrollably at the sight of the food. Takeru decided she should be able to handle solid food now and poured her a bowl. He warned her it was too hot, but the little dragon simply ignored the warning, guzzling the stew down quickly. Predictably, she burned her tongue, a truly dignified and pathetic display for a mythical creature. Takeru had to sigh, taking the bowl and gently blowing on the stew to cool it down. As Bee drifted off, Takeru found her utterly adorable. He checked her stats, confirming she was already at a terrifying B rank with seriously impressive natural gifts. He was shocked, but decided that no matter how strong she became, Bee was still a child who needed guidance. He started lecturing her on being careful and listening, but Bee, too sleepy, simply snored right through his speech. Takeru was left to ponder if he had been given an overpowered kid who literally ignores him. With the night peaceful, Takeru knew that morning would bring new challenges, and the next morning, things got aggressive. The next day, Takeru climbed the cliff he had fallen from, reaching the perimeter of the forest. The area had strangely transformed. As Bee began exploring, a strange, primal tingling hit Takeru, and Bee came flying back, visibly terrified. His radar interface lit up with a flurry of monster pointers. He realized his monster-repelling, bad smell must have finally been washed away. He wasn't worried, though. Fighting meant getting valuable materials and fresh meat. The danger wasn't just lurking in the trees. A C-rank rock falcon suddenly appeared, swooping down behind him. Bee was terrified, but Takeru dismissed the predator as a cute ingredient. As he read the monster's description, he noted its meat was tasty. Right, fine then. That was reason enough. He instantly created a powerful magic shield, then shot razor-sharp ice spikes, bringing it down instantly. One new ingredient secured. But Bee pointed to the forest, where more monsters were emerging. A pack of vile wolves with snakes for tails. Takeru knew he had to face them in close combat. He quickly cast enchantment spells to make his body lighter and faster. He reinforced his entire body with defensive magic. When the first wolf lunged, he dodged it effortlessly, then landed a decisive, ultra-hard kick to the wolf's head that instantly eliminated the creature. The other wolves were too slow for his enchanted speed. Takeru systematically took them all out using powerful, swift kicks. He collected the valuable meat and materials, but then spotted even more creatures coming. He was profoundly annoyed now. He couldn't keep fighting an endless tide forever, as much as he enjoyed the quick, satisfying exercise. Just when he thought the brutal forest fight was over, the onslaught still wouldn't let them go. The sheer number of monsters was reaching overwhelming levels. They needed to move, and they needed to move fast. Bee, seeing his frustration, decided to help, trying to fly him out while carrying him. Takeru thought the little dragon couldn't possibly manage, but Bee used her amazing power to lift him up. Takeru tried to assist her by casting a spell to greatly reduce his own weight, but he helped too much. Bee was completely unprepared for the sudden drop in load and suddenly shot high up into the sky, surprising both of them with her speed. Takeru panicked, screaming that she was flying too high, and the startled Bee instantly dropped him. He started screaming as he plummeted back toward the ground, but thankfully, the dense trees acted as a giant, soft cushion, saving his life. Bee immediately zipped down after him, covering his face with frantic apologies and licks. Takeru was low-key, annoyed by her antics, but as he stood up, he realized they had flown completely clear of the forest. He thanked her, but begged her to hold back a little next time, emphasizing that he was merely a fragile human. Bee, not understanding those complicated words, just hugged him tightly in reassurance, accidentally breaking a couple of his ribs in the process. They had escaped the creatures, but the next discovery would be even more ridiculous. As they resumed their journey, Takeru waved a random branch he'd found, claiming it was the branch of the legendary sleeping Yggdrasil that embodied the world. Bee knew the secret. She breathed a cloud of stinky gas that instantly transformed the tiny branch into a magnificent staff. Takeru was shocked. A gatherer with a wizard staff? How utterly inconvenient for his disguise. His thoughts were cut short by a loud, monstrous roar. Following Bee, he found her circling a tree near a ragged, exhausted female elf. The monster roar was her stomach. She hadn't eaten in 3 days. Takeru couldn't believe the sound was coming from her. He handed her his water bottle, which she emptied immediately. The water helped, but didn't ease her hunger, so Takeru offered her his lunchbox. She greedily devoured the food, shooting a hyper beam of joy and saying the food was heaven. Takeru was taken aback. Elves shouldn't behave so utterly uncivilized. He tried to temper her praise, telling her the food only tasted good because she had been starving. Takeru started roasting her, asking how she possibly ran out of food, adding that even a complete beginner would carry a lunchbox. The elf got pissed and moved to quarrel with him, but Takeru immediately backed off because she simply stunk. He confessed he thought elves smelled like peppermint and strawberries, not fresh manure. The elf was furious, saying she couldn't bathe while camping. She ran off, thanking him for the food, but lectured him for mocking someone who had just helped him. Takeru was left utterly disappointed after his first encounter with an elf. This world apparently offered no elegant fantasy races. Anyway, he regrouped and exited the area. B spotted a magnificent carriage pulled by a unicorn from over a mile away. The merchant driving it, Porin, invited him to ride along to the Tormi village, asking if he was a wizard because of the staff. Takeru nervously replied that he was just a humble gatherer, which Porin found impressive since gathering experts were rare. The whole family, Eliza, Yunnan, and Kane, checked him out. Takeru tried to scare the kids by joking about being a bandit. The boy simply laughed, saying he couldn't be bad because the magic crystal bell hadn't rung. It rings when a bad person is nearby. Takeru was deeply impressed by the simple, effective security idea. He introduced himself. The family was incredibly friendly, saying they always help each other out. Takeru found them almost too trusting for their own good. They had no idea who was really riding with them. Later, B started making noises from under Takeru's coat. Takeru nervously let her out, warning her not to bite. The kids were smitten, but the parents were shocked. Dragons are incredibly rare. Porin asked if Takeru was a dragon knight, but Takeru explained he just found and hatched the egg, which was even more shocking to them. That night, Takeru set up a magic stone barrier, but the family put their full trust in B instead of the stones. Takeru was low-key disappointed. When Eliza prepared dinner, Takeru asked to cook instead. He pulled utensils and ingredients from his magic bag, which was yet another surprise, and prepared a massive, delicious meal. The taste amazed everyone. Porin started crying because he was bored to death of eating dried meat every single day. He declared Takeru a magician, not of power, but the magician of taste. They all laughed and celebrated. For Takeru, who used to eat dinner completely by himself on Earth, having company while eating was a truly great feeling. It begs the question, how long can a gatherer with an SS rank dragon and god-tier magic keep his weak cover? What do you think will be the next shocking revelation of Takeru's hidden power? Let me know in the comments below. And that's it for this time. The next morning, Takeru started his day, predictably, by maintaining his tools before the traveling merchant and his wife prepared to leave. After they arrived on the outskirts of Tormi village, Takeru offered his polite thanks, and the merchant reciprocated. A simple, wholesome transaction. The village guard, however, revealed the merchant's secret. The man only showed up seasonally, spending winters in the major cities. Takeru, recalling the merchant's constant sad expression, simply assumed business was bad this season. Good thing he didn't have to worry about such peasant issues, right? He casually reflected on his own god-tier cheat skill, a blessing from the gods that let him gather anything. He really was living the easy life, entirely oblivious to the fact that his easy life was about to cause an international incident. His priority now, getting paid. He headed straight to Jerome the collector's shop to sell his latest haul, including the mithril ore Jerome had requested. Jerome, the collector, was about to have the worst day of his professional career. Takeru, the genius, had just casually mixed in some mithril magic ore with the regular haul just to see what happened. Jerome's face went pale. After a lot of dramatic gasping and deliberation, he dropped the atomic bomb. This wasn't just valuable ore. It was a legendary object that only existed in fairy tales. Takeru, ever the dedicated actor, played surprised, but inside he was just confirming that his gathering skills were, indeed, completely broken. Then came the true catastrophe. Jerome confessed that the sheer quantity Takeru had collected was enough to give him more power than all the magic stones the country possessed combined. This wasn't a sale. It was practically economic sabotage. Takeru, with a straight face, chalked it up to being lucky. Jerome, understandably, didn't believe a word of it, recognizing Takeru as a world-class prodigy. But the man was weird. Jerome found it utterly baffling how Takeru had such massive power, yet such a shocking lack of common sense. His urgent advice? Get out of this backwater and go straight to Belkheim City. That was where Takeru could finally achieve the fame and success commensurate with his completely unbelievable, accidental genius. So what did the man with the key to global dominance do next? He went back to the inn to read an encyclopedia, because he genuinely didn't know what an adventurer's guild was. The guy who could trip over a legendary artifact daily was trying to figure out the concept of a job board. Priorities, folks. After his brief study session, he decided to join the guild, because how else do you make money while traveling this beautiful world? First, he had to take care of the villagers. He hosted a huge feast using the meat from the monsters he'd casually subjugated, instantly cementing himself as the town hero. His departure the next day was genuinely emotional. The lady at the seasoning shop nearly cried, packing him enough food to last the month-long journey to Belkheim. Back at the inn, Takeru revealed the biggest piece of hidden drama. He still had the mithril magic ore. Jerome hadn't bought it. B, the tiny dragon companion, went into deep thought about the priceless artifact, but quickly gave up and went to sleep. A perfectly reasonable response to such a complex topic. Takeru, however, came to a decision that only someone with unlimited wealth could conceive. He would use this invaluable, kingdom-altering material to make a little trinket for his kind villagers. Takeru's idea was breathtakingly simple and fiscally insane. He would use the legendary mithril magic ore to infuse an ordinary oil lamp with magic. On his very first try, naturally, he succeeded. The next morning, as the villagers bid him a tearful farewell, Takeru presented his humble, life-changing gift to the guard. He explained that this lamp would create an invisible barrier to keep people with ill intentions out of the village. It was the ultimate, priceless security system, crafted from the world's most sought-after material, all because he was feeling a little grateful. The villagers were hesitant, realizing this was a major magical artifact, but Takeru insisted, declaring this place his home. He didn't linger. He didn't stay to watch the tears or hear the overwhelming gratitude. He quite literally dashed away from the village with B, avoiding the sentimentality like a level 99 raid boss avoids a low-level grunt. He left behind a piece of his limitless power to protect a place he barely knew. On the road to Belkheim, Takeru felt things were too quiet, too calm. He had, of course, just jinxed the situation. Moments later, a giant creature blocked the path. Takeru's first move? Scanning it. His conclusion? Forget the threat level, the crab was edible. This was quite clearly the only data point that mattered. He prepared to attack, but B wasn't having it. The tiny dragon flew up and unleashed an echo so loud, so concussive, it instantly obliterated the giant crab's ears, killing it right on the spot. Takeru was genuinely shocked. He hadn't known his pet had such a shocking hidden skill. Just as he prepared to harvest the surprisingly tasty-looking loot, several more crabs emerged, violating the laws of crustacean travel by charging straight ahead. B grabbed Takeru and flew them clear as the enemy crabs slammed into each other, two dying from the sheer force of the collision. Takeru quickly finished the last one with a simple stick. They immediately went into culinary mode, setting up a gigantic pot and using Takeru's hardened hand to slice the crab. The taste, predictably, was amazing. Takeru and B renewed their unique, food-focused bond. Finally, they spotted the colossal walls of Belkheim, the city of commerce. Takeru was amazed by the sheer scale of the place, noting the biggest adventurers guild in the kingdom was inside. He joined the massive security queue, using magic to disguise his massive, resource-stuffed inventory as a regular backpack, because no one needs to know how much priceless loot is actually in there. He hid B inside the bag before stepping into the inspection hall. When the guard checked his bag and found nothing, Takeru stated his occupation: gatherer. He had to be scanned by the owl, an item that reveals a person's intentions. This was Takeru's moment of truth. Would his divine cheat skills be exposed? Takeru quickly scanned the owl back and was relieved. His own stats were completely average, and he registered as blue, meaning utterly harmless. The gods, it seemed, were kind enough to hide the fact that he was basically a walking cheat code. The guard, however, did notice one tiny thing: the dragon's blessing. Takeru introduced B, explaining he was a pet, a gift from the dragon. The guard, mildly annoyed but accepting, allowed him to pass after seeing a bangle as proof of ownership. Takeru stepped outside, eyes wide at the bustling streets, and quickly found the guild. Inside, the receptionist, Ariana, looked utterly overwhelmed, which was a nice welcome. Takeru cut straight to registering as an adventurer. When asked for proof of fighting experience, he listed the monsters he defeated and then produced the ultimate proof, the giant crab he had killed early. The sight terrified Ariana, who immediately ran, alerting the other adventurers. One of the veterans scanned Takeru, confirming the blue status, harmless. But when Takeru explained his intent, that he was there to register, and then he was going to eat the crab, the entire guild went silent. They were shocked. They hadn't even known the crabs were edible. That one nonchalant statement revealed more about his overpowered nature than any epic battle ever could. He then introduced B, and the sight of a dragon as a pet officially stunned the hardened adventurers into absolute silence. Takeru, smugly satisfied with the impression he'd made, accepted his rank F adventurer's badge. He and B bumped tags, the oblivious overpowered gatherer and his secretly destructive dragon, ready for the next chapter. Takeru now makes the difficult visit to the family of Belria Fend. He carefully informed them that he had found the young man's belongings deep in the woods outside of Tormi village. We see a brief flashback that reveals Belria had initially ventured out to get medicine for his sick father. Takeru, being the poster child for good deeds, asks if he can perform a favor for the grieving family. Before leaving the slums, Takeru used his imitation healing magic to cure Belria's father. Takeru proceeds to visit the guild shop to sell a mountain of resources, 8 epera leaves, 6 polivent roots, and 20 each of ruri mushrooms and akani mushrooms. The shopkeeper confirms that clients have been thrilled with the quality of his work. Here, the guild receptionist intercepts him, stating there have been many requests for his services. Takeru politely declines, insisting he will only accept a small handful of F-rank jobs. He needs to keep a low profile after all. His long-awaited reward was a moment of peace. Takeru finally went to take a bath, which he had wanted since he arrived. The bath water was initially filthy, but he was able to purify it instantly using his powerful Clean spell. Here, he ran into Clay, the Dragon King of Honor, who complained his old wounds were acting up again. Clay asked if Takeru could use healing magic, noting he had heard rumors that Takeru had used such magic on Belria's father in the slums. Takeru nonchalantly replied he just mimicked what he had seen before. Clay quickly remarked that Takeru could have made a mountain of gold if he had charged, but Takeru said he didn't want to upset professional doctors who work for a living, because that's a completely normal reason. Clay informed Takeru he was now eligible to rank up, but Takeru refused, thinking to himself that a higher rank would only cause trouble and interrupt his peaceful life. Clay called him unselfish, but Takeru retorted that he desperately wanted a sharp pair of scissors, so he wasn't that unselfish. Clay lectured him on learning some common sense. This conversation was repeated moments later when the shopkeeper echoed the rank-up suggestion, which Takeru firmly rejected. The peace was shattered almost instantly. A soldier burst in, exclaiming that a goblin attack was inbound. The guild instantly rose to action, planning to gather everyone rank D and higher to fight off the impending threat. The organizer asked Mezueli, the receptionist, if any rank A adventurers were around. She sadly confirmed the regulars were away, though Clay was present. Takeru wisely tried to pull an Irish exit, reasoning that being F rank made the problem literally not his business. Unfortunately, the organizer caught him sneaking away and ordered him to join the mission. They received their briefing. The Goblin front line was starting in the southwest of Stavlov Plains and was predicted to push northeast toward the main gates of Belkam. The adventurers were to stop the horde before they crossed the Zalwes River. The entire group acted like a poorly coached sports team, and Takeru felt distinctly out of place, like a liberal arts student thrown into a rugby match. 2 adventurers near him, Diego and Oraldo, quickly told him to stay out of their way, confirming his low F-rank status. Just then, the guildmaster, Rodor, commended Takeru for the high praises he'd been getting from the appraiser. He even complimented Takeru for withstanding his intimidation, calling it noteworthy. Rodor stated that while Takeru was F rank, he could protect himself, and told him to protect those around him too. Mezueli apologized for Rodor's aggressive behavior and exclaimed that she could use basic healing skills, encouraging Takeru that they should both do their best. Mezueli and Takeru were stationed on a cliffside medic camp. Mezueli was scared shitless and freaking out. Takeru tried to calm her down, knowing her panic would only cause more trouble later. He reassured her that it was natural to be afraid and encouraged her to focus on healing the wounded. Clay showed up, surprisingly not on the front lines. He noticed Takeru speaking so passionately and chuckled, but Takeru claimed he was just trying to ensure nothing became troublesome later. Clay admitted he was stuck back here because his old wounds were flaring up. Takeru asked if the back wounds he noticed at the bathhouse were the cause. Clay immediately became defensive, asking if Takeru was going to shame him for receiving wounds on his back, a sign of running away. Takeru claimed, with a shocking display of empathy, that those wounds could have just as easily been from protecting someone. He concluded that Clay was still alive and could continue to keep protecting others. Clay was clearly moved by the defense. A horn suddenly sounded, signaling the arrival of the Goblin army. Clay departed, heading to the front line against Takeru's protest, swearing to protect everyone even if it broke his body. Takeru muttered under his breath, "You can't protect anyone if you break your body." Mezueli echoed the sentiment. Takeru finally conceded that this was definitely not the time to try and avoid trouble. Takeru pulled out his tree dress staff, instantly deployed a powerful barrier around the medic camp, and ran after Clay, enhanced with his speed and hardening magic. On the battlefield, adventurers were already getting overwhelmed. Takeru launched an assault, knocking out several goblins with a single punch. Bee also joined the fray. In addition to her previous hyper voice attack, she took out a large chunk of the trash mobs with a Pikachu-style thunderbolt. She can learn 2 more moves now. The adventurers debriefed Takeru, saying a high-rank species called a Goblin Sergeant had shown up, and Clay had been separated while retreating. They found Clay holding his own but being pushed back. Bee came to the rescue with another perfectly timed thunderbolt. Clay ordered Takeru to leave, but Takeru proved his point by tapping Clay on his back wound, causing him excruciating pain. Takeru stated they should fall back and regroup, and that Bee and him would fight as well. Clay, worried that the Goblin Sergeant would catch up, put on a strong front, stating Takeru should live. Takeru asked if the scar on Clay's back held any important memories. Clay stated it was just a reminder of his foolishness, an annoyance. While Bee was having fun toasting the trash mobs, Takeru tossed his staff to Bee, pulled out the ancient dragon's water, and splashed it on Clay, immediately following up with the incantation Reta Furious. Clay was instantly healed and transformed into an advanced draconic species, a Dragonewt, looking remarkably like Voldius. The Dragonewt Clay proceeded to decimate the rest of the mobs and the Goblin Sergeant alike. Guildmaster Rodor showed up, witnessing the lingering chaotic magic in the air. Rodor immediately asked Takeru if he was responsible for releasing Clay's power, and if Takeru was the one casting strong spells and lightning strikes everywhere. Takeru thought to himself that Rodor must be confusing Bee's attacks with his own magic. Takeru paused, then confirmed, "Yes, I am the one who released his power." Rodor's demeanor instantly shifted. He dropped all pretenses and asked Takeru point blank, "What exactly are you?" Takeru calmly replied he was just an F-rank adventurer who happened to be good at gathering. Rodor, sensing Takeru wouldn't reveal more, promised him a reward. Back at the inn, Clay had returned to his normal form, but claimed he still felt something fiery inside and demanded an explanation from Takeru. Takeru, with trademark nonchalance, explained he had just splashed some SS-rank element water on him and cast Reta Furious. He explained he got the water from Bee's parent, an ancient dragon. Clay was confused about the healing spell. Takeru explained he just imitated what he knew, saying healing magic works better when imagining how the body is made. He noted Clay had a lot of important nerves on his back, which greatly enhanced the effect. Clay, feeling overwhelmed, asked who Takeru really was. Takeru decided to tell him everything while Bee cuddled adorably with his cloak. Clay, processing the crazier things that happened that day, decided to believe it. He then talked about his earlier transformation, calling the state a Dragonewt, a power his ancient ancestors held. He was proud but scared. Takeru advised Clay not to get too excited to prevent the next transformation. Clay, rightfully so, stated that Takeru truly lacks common sense, and decided it was his turn to give Takeru a lecture. Back in the village, everything had returned to normal. Takeru decided to do some window shopping, probably for those sharp scissors of his, and meets a cat beast woman who asks if she can help. Takeru meets the energetic catwoman apprentice, Rebel, and asks about scissors. She confirms they don't sell them, but upon learning Takeru is the famous materials gatherer, she offers a potential solution. She explains that their master, a talented blacksmith, might help him in exchange for a very small, difficult procurement. Inside, Takeru is suitably impressed by the craftsman. Rebel, dreaming of forging a hero's sword, pitches her exchange idea to the boss, Grollis. Grollis, ever the voice of caution, immediately rejects it. Rebel insists, citing the dwindling Ildra ore supply and a tight deadline. Grollis counters that the Ryuhai mine is overrun by demons after an earthquake and is far too dangerous for their talented new recruit. What a concerned boss. Rebel, recognizing the sheer scope of the task, tells Takeru to forget the whole thing. Takeru, whose sense of self-preservation is clearly optional, asks the astonishing question, "If I get the impossible ore for you, will you forge a custom pair of gathering scissors that only I can use?" Grollis is speechless, which is understandable. Takeru then whips out a giant crab claw from a previously slain monster, proving he is, in fact, terrifyingly capable. The deal is sealed, and Takeru has leveraged a rank A risk for a pair of customized cutting tools. Takeru and B head west by wagon toward the Ryuhai mine. His travel buddies chatter about recent mountain weirdness, poisonous herbs suddenly dying, disturbances in the White Tree Forest, all of which Takeru completely fails to connect to his own slight misuse of world-altering magic. At a horse dealer, they encounter the infamous Stinky Elf friend demanding a magnificent steed, only to be offered a large white raven. The stable master patiently explains that here, horse is a term of convenience for anything that hauls cargo. The elf, mortified and audibly starving, departs, heading toward Vosrael. Takeru, spotting an opportunity for his beloved Moon Knight grass, slips away to gather. Sure enough, the elf's monstrous stomach growl leads him right to her. After providing water and food, Takeru makes a snap decision. He quickly hits her with a clean spell before she can get close enough to ruin his mental image of elves forever. The now clean elf, Velvareda Brolite, insists that as an elf she must repay the favor. Takeru suggests she could be his bodyguard, because he desperately needs one, obviously. Brolite accepts, officially joining the team. Her first contributions to the gathering effort, a plain rock, some feces, and a poisonous mushroom. Ah, she's like B, Takeru kindly notes. Brolite then proceeds to showcase her actual value, effortlessly ripping out an entire tree trunk and slicing it into firewood using her rank A Sylph Jambia. Later, Brolite reveals she's traveling to Vosrael to find a legendary white Pegasus for her sister, Nutakara. The party happily retires for the night, only to discover Brolite possesses a second equally impressive ability, extremely loud snoring. The sleep-deprived party arrives at the city. While dining at an inn, they are discussing Brolite's acquaintance, the honorary Dragon King, when Clayston, behind them. Clay immediately launches into a well-deserved lecture on Takeru taking quests far above his rank. Takeru proudly explains the scissors deal. Clay, in disbelief, states that Takeru's lack of common sense always astonishes him. Naturally, Clay invites himself along, reasoning that gaining a blacksmith favor is the perfect chance to get his spear modified. So Takeru's party is complete: a dragon, a very loud elf, and a nagging old samurai. At the gates of the Dwarven Kingdom, Clay simply speaks to the guards, and the whole party is immediately ushered past a massive queue for an audience with the king. Takeru learns the truth. Clay is the legendary hero who freed the kingdom from the Demon King, Thunder Tengum, and yes, there is a giant statue of him. Upon meeting the king, Clay complains about his statue, showcasing their friendly relationship. Takeru hands over a letter from Grusis. The king explains the gravity of the demon situation. Clay casually volunteers himself and Brolite to escort Takeru, gaining permission for the gathering quest and an extra assignment: investigate the overall status of the mine. At the mine entrance, Guide Zambo leads the team into the dark depths. Inside, Takeru gives a masterclass in not taking anything seriously, effortlessly dual-casting light and read to illuminate the path while also mapping the tunnels. His new elite party members are suitably impressed by his casual genius. Takeru ignores them, using his search feature to note that the visible ore is low-grade. The party is promptly ambushed by spiders. Clay is forced to leap into battle, eliminating one, while Takeru manages to paralyze another with stop motion, allowing Brolite to finish the job. Deeper in, Takeru's search finally hits gold. He uses a series of precision spells to procure the material. It's not the requested Ildra ore, but Ildrite, a stunningly rare, crystalline, rank A material that Clay confirms is virtually a magic stone. The moment of triumph is interrupted when B shouts that something is coming. Takeru, abandoning all pretense of being a sensible human, starts to drool as he identifies his next meal, yet another giant crab creature, and eagerly prepares for battle. The air crackled with excitement. Takeru and B were ecstatic, staring down the massive crustacean. It was the Trango crab, a ferocious rank A monster. As Clay frantically yelled, the crab struck first. Clay immediately called for teamwork, but Takeru flatly refused. "This is my main dish tonight," he declared. He ordered B to provide cover, but with one major rule: no fire or lightning magic. Takeru then activated quick and reduction magic on his limbs and charged. B blasted the area with hyper voice. Takeru landed a clean strike with his staff, and it had no effect. Thinking fast, B used Ice Beam to immobilize the crab. Takeru quickly used Scan, finding the monster's vulnerability, its joints. He then unleashed Ice Needles, freezing the huge crab solid. Clay immediately demanded an explanation for the solo attack. Takeru revealed his culinary logic. If we use tainted weapons, the crab might be inedible. Surprised they planned to eat it, Clay voiced his professional concern, arguing that his inability to fight made him a poor bodyguard. Takeru simply said he was used to fighting crab monsters. Clay conceded Takeru's magic was well-suited, but emphasized the importance of trust and teamwork in battle. Takeru apologized, and Clay was placated. With the demon vanquished and Zambo ecstatic about a found mineral vein, Takeru realized the magnitude of his power. He understood what the celestial being meant. A single drop can cause many ripples. As Brolite called for them to head back, Takeru hoped his changes would be positive ones. Reporting to the king's chambers, Takeru gave his account. Zambo vouched for the results and asked Takeru to present the demon. Takeru obliged, dropping the massive crab in the throne room. The king was impressed, calling it a terrifying creature and a worthy deed. Takeru requested his reward, the crab itself. Brolite pointed out they also received 3 million rave each, but Takeru was too focused on the dishes he'd cook and forging his new scissors from the crab's shell. Brolite was rewarded with the majestic steed she'd been seeking for her sister. Clay received a splendid brand new spear. Brolite departed to deliver the steed to her sister, stating her great debt to Takeru, who insisted they were even, given his prized crab. With a final goodbye, Clay noted their carriage had arrived, and they headed back to the guild. They were met by Ariana, who asked if Takeru and Clayston had teamed up. Takeru began to object, but Clay quickly intervened, claiming they had formed a temporary team. Clay side-eyed Takeru, explaining it was good to have someone keep an eye on Takeru's crazy antics. Takeru took mild offense but was happy for his new companion. After discussion, the new party was officially named the Azure Black Brigade. Takeru finally delivered the high-purity Ildrite to Grazus and Ribble. The blacksmith duo was overjoyed, tearfully thanking him. They hadn't seen this much high-quality Ildrite in 120 years. Takeru was pleased, taking pride in being a gatherer. Ribble worried about how to pay for the high quality, but Takeru waved him off. They owed him the scissors. They were even. He told the duo to focus on making a stellar sword for the upcoming showcase. Half a month later, Wade arrived with a summons from Lord Belmonent, the territorial lord of Belcame. Takeru immediately feared trouble and feigned a stomachache. Wade assured him the noble was pleasant, and Takeru reluctantly opened the letter. The Lord wished to bestow honors upon Takeru and Clay for their battlefield efforts and invited the newly formed team to the estate. Takeru was suspicious, believing honors was a ruse to ask for something. Clay joked the Lord just wanted to see the young dragon, sending Takeru into a panic that they'd take B away. Wade assured him the Lord had no such authority. Clay vowed that if the Lord tried anything, they'd walk out of the city. Takeru brightened. Then let's go get some monster meat cuisine. They departed in a noble's carriage. Clay noted that an invitation to a lord's mansion was an adventurer's dream. Their backing meant a huge increase in credibility. At the magnificent estate, they were greeted by Raymond, the butler. A young girl, Lady Therese, ran down the stairs and instantly claimed B as her own. Takeru's refusal astonished her. He knelt and asked why she felt entitled. She explained that her butler, Bernard, told her to take an adamant stance against disobedient adventurers. Realizing the culprit, Takeru apologized and gently explained that B was part of his family. Lady Therese realized B understood her and apologized for her demand, making up with the dragon. She then explained she wanted a dragon because it was important to her mother. Lord Lucelvac entered, handsome and formal. They retired to the living room, and the Lord apologized for his daughter. Clay cut to the chase. Why were they brought here? Lord Belmonent confessed he had a request concerning his wife, Lady Muleteria. She had been bedridden for 6 months. Rumors of Takeru's healing, specifically curing a frail tenant, had reached the manor. He begged Takeru to save his wife. Takeru hesitated, worried about his unstable power. He mentioned that Tierras had wanted a cute dragon to lift her mother's spirits before returning to school. The sentiment moved Clay, who began tearing up, attempting to guilt-trip Takeru into accepting. B joined the tearful plea. Though Takeru feared a single wrong move could spell disaster, he agreed to at least take a look. Lord Belmonent went to explain the situation to his wife. Takeru asked if he could brighten the room but was refused. The lady was sensitive to sunlight. Takeru walked over and performed a scan. He saw she was riddled with illnesses, but most crucially, ivor poisoning. Clay was confused. Takeru explained the final hurdle: trust. Could the Lord's family truly place their faith in a random adventurer? Lady Muleteria stated she would trust her husband's decision. Lord Belmonent gave his full endorsement, and Takeru accepted the job. Lord Belmonent desperately begs Takeru to save his wife. Takeru explains he cannot use his mass mana technique on Lady Muleteria. He focuses instead on her immediate pain, light sensitivity. Using a gentle, controlled heal spell, Takeru treats her damaged eyes. She opens them, finding her vision perfectly restored, pain-free. Encouraged, Takeru cleanses the room with clean magic and opens the windows, flooding the space with light. Lady Muleteria weeps tears of joy. The light no longer hurts her, and she embraces her husband. Takeru places an orange Magistone safeguard near her room in case she is attacked. While Clay celebrates, Takeru remains focused. The poisoning persists. Takeru and Lord Belmonent move to the library to discuss the ivor toxin. They quickly deduce someone must be poisoning Lady Muleteria. When Takeru asks for an antidote, the Lord reveals the poison and its cure were lost to time. Ingredients for both have been forgotten for centuries. Desperate, Belmonent shows Takeru his family book collection. Many are in an ancient language. Thanks to a decipher skill Takeru learned from an adventurer's diary, and his adapted search skill, Busca, Takeru finds the relevant journal belonging to Pola Pola, describes finding the sparkly gold ivor flower by a horse-shaped rock near a huge lake. Clayston identifies the location, Asheth village in the Vanon region. Despite the 5-day journey, Takeru declares, they must leave immediately. As they prepare to leave, the treacherous butler, Bernard, sends a pigeon out a window. Lady Therese rushes up to Takeru, filled with remorse, and apologizes for her earlier rudeness. Takeru accepts her apology, giving her vital advice. If anyone tries to manipulate her, she must use Hurenso, report, contact, consult, immediately with her father. Once away from the castle, Takeru uses quick and reduction to dramatically increase their speed, leaving Clay astonished. They arrive at Asheth village, finding it a barren wasteland. Takeru scans Lake Galeus and discovers it was deliberately contaminated with paleocin toxin. The lake is polluted. They encounter starving, weakened villagers. The villagers reveal that 10 months ago, the lake and wells were poisoned. A merchant, Ngash, arrived, offering water in exchange for the village's sacred shiny flowers, the Ivor flower, known to them as the divine flower. To keep themselves alive, they made a deal with Engachi to trade clean water for 1 Ivor flower per month. Engache's water wasn't enough, leading to crop failure and famine. Takeru furiously exposes Engache, a villain who intentionally contaminated the lake to exploit their resource. Vowing revenge on Engachi, Takeru commands B to use spirit arts. B lets out a mighty roar, summoning a downpour to revive the land. Once the rain stops and the sun shines, Takeru uses his Teldrassail staff to cast clean on the villagers and repair on the village structures. He then uses his cooking skills to feed everyone nourishing soup. As repayment, Takeru only asks to be shown the Ivor flower so he can manufacture an antidote. The chief agrees. The village children, now lively, swarm Takeru, offering to take him to their secret base, a barn where they store the sweet nectar from the salty lidas fruit, whose juice is identical to soy sauce. Back at the mansion, Takeru's Magistone alarm rings. Lady Tieris rushes to investigate and finds Bernard at the door. He tries to discredit Takeru, but Tieris immediately reports the incident to Lord Belmonent, using Ho Renso. In the study, Lord Belmonent asks Bernard to drink the water prepared for Lady Mulataria's treatment. Bernard refuses, and when the Lord splashes it, Bernard recoils, screaming, "It's poison!" Lord Belmonent drinks it himself, proving the water is harmless and exposing the butler Bernard as Mulataria's poisoner. Bernard is arrested. Lord Belmonent immediately receives a ciphered letter, and a look of shock crosses his face. The encoded letter is discovered in Bernard's room. Meanwhile, in Asheth, Ngash visits to forcibly take all the Ivor with his hired thugs. A guard reveals the chief is with the adventurers, and they know the flower is poison. Ngash announces a change of plans. They will finish the village now. Takeru and his party, escorted by the chief, arrive at the field with the horse statue and the Ivor flowers. Takeru exclaims, "We have found the divine flowers!" Deep inside a dark cave, the village elder led Takeru and Clay to a beautiful underground lake. Here, beside a horse statue, grew the golden Ibur flowers. Takeru sat down and used his scan spell on the flower. The scan revealed that the Ibur garden is guarded by a legendary beast. The chief explained that this was Hofulnir, their village guardian, who long ago saved them from a lake demon. As the chief mentioned the myth that the Ibur flowers grew from Hofal's tears, Takeru wondered if it was right to take such precious herbs. The elder insisted, seeing Takeru as the village's savior, and gave his approval. After thanking him, Takeru cut a flower with his scissors, excited to make the antidote and test the strange soy fruit he had found earlier. The calm was instantly broken when a villager rushed toward them in a panic, alerting them that an attack was underway. Takeru and Clay rushed back to Ashisu village. Upon arrival, they found the buildings burning and ruined. Takeru quickly commanded B to put out the flames while Clay evacuated the villagers. Once the fires were out, they were relieved to find no one was seriously hurt. A villager explained that this devastation followed the visit of the merchant, Ngash. When the village refused to give him more of the Ibur flowers, Ngash went rogue and set the entire village on fire. Hearing this, Takeru clenched his fist in rage. The elder then revealed that the boy, Ganza, was missing. An old lady confirmed that Ngash's subordinates had kidnapped him, fleeing toward the lake. Using his enhanced search skill, Takeru quickly located the villains inside an abandoned fortress. Though the chief warned them, Takeru reassured him that Clay, an A-rank adventurer, would certainly bring Ganza back. Outside the fortress, Takeru and Clay waited in the bushes. B flew to a window and returned with intel. The bandits were shamelessly having a celebratory party inside. Hearing the thieves rejoice after burning a helpless village sent Clay flying into a rage. Transforming into his dragon form, he prepared to destroy them. Takeru calmed him down, pointing out that a reckless charge could put Ganza at risk. Clay, frustrated but realizing Takeru was right, suggested a concealment technique. Using their magic, Takeru and Clay infiltrated the fortress, quietly knocking out a drunk guard. While searching the bandits' storage for evidence of poison, they heard the bandits laughing upstairs, mocking the village and revealing Ingash's true, malicious plan. The bandits boasted they would use Ganza as a hostage to get the Ibor flowers. Their discussion turned to exploiting Lord Belmonant's wife's poisoning, intending to spread the news globally to market Ibor as a rare, untreatable poison and sell it for huge profits to assassins. Takeru finally understood why the merchant was so interested in the flower. Clay, now restless with fury, was given the command to obliterate the bandits without killing them. Clay burst through the main door, terrifying the thieves. Seeing his subordinates overwhelmed by the dragon, Ingash decided to escape. He ordered a goon to retrieve a secret weapon. Suddenly, the invisible Takeru, impersonating a bandit, tricked Ingash into revealing Ganza was safely secured in an outer building. Outside, Takeru located Ganza in a guarded room. B quickly dispatched the guard with a swift headbutt. Takeru broke the lock by hardening his hand, and Ganza ran into his arms, crying in relief. The bandits outside panicked, fleeing from a terrifying monster, a giant sea anemone, the secret weapon summoned by Ingash. Takeru scanned it and found it was only a B-rank demon. He rushed back inside to help Clay, who was struggling against the creature's endlessly regenerating tentacles. Takeru used an ice breath skill to freeze the demon's entire body and instructed Clay to aim for the brain between its two red eyes. Clay struck with a powerful punch, but the demon was only enraged, unleashing an army of tentacles. The attack blew Takeru and Ganza out of the fortress. Takeru managed to toss Ganza to B before falling into the poisonous lake below. As he sank through the toxic water, Takeru lamented that he might die, but realized his body had acted on its own to save the boy. He heard a woman's voice from the void, but stubbornly ignored it while dwelling on his fate. Finally, she yanked him out of the water. Takeru saw a flying horse holding him, the legendary Hofalnir. Hofalnir showed Takeru that the lake had turned a pure blue color, explaining that Takeru's magic had purified the water. She revealed that centuries ago, she used all her power to create the Ibor flower to absorb the lake's poisonous magic, turning herself into the stone statue. Takeru's recent absorption of the poison had restored her power. After accepting her thanks, Hofalnir returned Takeru to Clay and Ganza, then transformed into a burst of light. Back at Belmonant's mansion, Takeru and Clay used a doctor from the Adventurers Guild to create the Ibor antidote. Takeru gave the liquid to Lady Miliueta. She improved instantly. Takeru confirmed via scan that the poisoning was completely cured. The good news brought Tuss to tears, and the whole family wept in celebration. Afterward, Takeru returned to the village to help rebuild. He reassured the chief that Ingash was safely in the custody of the territory lord. The grateful chief asked how to repay him, and Takeru asked only to collect the Ibor flowers for future antidotes. He then showed the chief his true reward. He cooked a potato and poured a sauce over it, made from the villagers' bitter discarded Lidis fruit. The chief immediately fell in love with the taste. Takeru revealed the sauce was soy sauce and proposed a business deal, buying the seemingly useless Lidis fruits in bulk and selling the resultant soy sauce as a Belsim village specialty. Finally, while riding out of the village, Takeru admitted he was exhausted. He looked at the sun and thought he was hallucinating when he saw Hofalnir materialize beside him. Clay saw her too. Hofalnir landed and, transforming into a woman, declared she was tired of being stuck in the village and wanted to travel the world with him. Though Clay objected, Hofalnir reminded Takeru he needed a horse anyway. Takeru nodded, but thought it was too much to use a legendary beast like a common mount. Hofalnir didn't seem to mind, and happily told Takeru he can go wherever he wants with her, cementing her place as a new, legendary pain in the rear end. A few days later, Takeru went to visit Grollis, seeking to commission another pair of superior harvesting scissors. The master blacksmith immediately boasted that his latest sword had won a prestigious competition, crediting Takeru's supply of high-quality Ildrite ore. Grollis, eager to return the favor, was thrilled to create the finest gathering scissors Takeru could imagine. Leaving the shop, Takeru found Hofalnir waiting impatiently. Though he appreciated her companionship, her mischievous streak showed when she asked if she should whip Grollis to speed up his work. Takeru quickly diverted her, and Hofalnir settled for simply demanding food. This soon led to an amusing squabble with B, who also wanted a snack. Their bickering was interrupted by Grit, who invited Takeru to the Adventurers Guild for an urgent discussion. Inside, Grit explained that the guild was preparing for its annual gathering competition, while Takeru politely declined Ariana's invitation, citing his status as merely a casual gatherer. Grit revealed that Lord Belmonte himself was sponsoring the entire event and specifically requested Takeru's participation. Unable to refuse a friend and benefactor, Takeru reluctantly agreed. Outside the guild days later, the guildmaster announced the event was sponsored by Belmonte as a recovery gift for Lady Miluetta. The objective for the competitors was to collect 7 colored wool from the rare rainbow sheep. Takeru, despite his gathering skills, was surprised he hadn't heard of the material, which the guildmaster acknowledged was extremely rare and might require extensive research. Critically, the guildmaster forbade any assistance from party members, emphasizing the event's solo spirit. Hearing this rule, Hofalnir realized she couldn't serve as Takeru's mount. After running through the regulations, Clay reluctantly told Takeru he would have to go alone, which shocked poor B. Takeru reassured them, confident in his magic, but when Clay suggested using teleportation magic to cheat the search, Takeru refused, reasoning that such blatant use of high-tier magic would only cause trouble and create sore losers. The guildmaster announced the start of the competition, but B, desperate not to be separated, refused to leave Takeru's side. Hofalnir calmly pulled the baby dragon off and used her mana to lull him to sleep, instructing Takeru to compete without worry and leave the baby dragon in her care. Takeru sprinted straight to the library, where he quickly skimmed through books until he found information confirming that the rainbow sheep inhabited the remote Mount Takarana. He immediately headed to the location. Reaching the towering mountain, Takeru realized he had a demanding climb ahead to reach the sheep at the summit. Feeling anxious about embarking on a quest without B for the first time, Takeru ironically imagined B stress-eating and getting fat back at the guild, a thought which amused him. Meanwhile, back in the city, B sadly munched on a sandwich, still stressed. Hofalnir asked why he was worried, noting Takeru's strong protection barrier, but then boastfully claimed she would have been much more useful to him as a horse. This declaration angered B, who considered himself Takeru's primary mount. Hofalnir stood up, ready to prove her speed, but Clay swiftly intervened, reminding her that everyone already acknowledged she was the fastest, a compliment that placated her. Clay then complimented B's agility as well, which finally settled the tense argument. Although relieved that the two powerful beasts had calmed down, Clay was worried about having to handle them for long without Takeru's help. Takeru, unaware of the drama, ate a hot bowl of gyoza that night before sleeping. The next morning, Takeru successfully reached the peak and found the rainbow sheep grazing peacefully. Knowing that the small animals are quick to run, he wondered how to capture them. Takeru decided to speak sheepish, magically attracting the entire flock. With their undivided attention, Takeru asked the sheep for their wool. A pink sheep, trusting and eager to be sheared, hopped right onto his lap. Takeru gently used a comb to collect the wool, quickly followed by the rest of the flock, who willingly offered their colorful bounty. After collecting the required amount, Takeru started heading back home. During his descent, he paused, noticing a majestic dragon flying nearby, and wondered if B would grow up to look just as magnificent. Upon Takeru's return, B immediately awoke and clung to him, crying as if Takeru had just survived a war. Shortly thereafter, the guildmaster announced Takeru's victory and promoted him to FB rank. Takeru was initially confused by the rank, but the guildmaster explained it allowed him to accept gathering or adventuring quests ranging all the way from F rank to B rank. Although Takeru seemed to consider focusing purely on gathering, the guildmaster strongly cautioned him against consistently over-delivering on product quality. He warned that selling materials far superior to what clients paid for would severely crash the local market. Takeru was shaken by the advice, but the guildmaster clarified that he and the rest of the guild rooted for him and didn't want to see his high-quality work undervalued. Pondering their sincerity, Takeru considered accepting more official quests for the guild. Clay quickly told him to make up his mind, and Hofalnir added that he easily deserved the special rank. With both friends urging him, Takeru finally accepted the FB rank ring. As he took it, the guildmaster expressed his hope for Takeru's future contributions. Suddenly, a commotion started as Ariana burst in, announcing that a forest worm had appeared near the main road. Now formally recognized as an adventurer, Takeru immediately headed out with Clay to confront the monster. Upon arrival, the party waited, and soon the massive worm crawled into view, towering over them like a skyscraper. As they prepared to engage, a familiar voice called out to Takeru from atop the worm's head, Brolite, who was using the monster as a mount. After she greeted Takeru, Clay, and B, Brolite dismounted, but Takeru swiftly deployed his clean spell to eliminate her terrible stink. He asked why she was riding such a huge beast, and she explained that she brought it from her homeland specifically as a gift for Takeru to use as a mount. Takeru, seeing the filthy monster, used his clean spell on it too, which terrified the worm, causing it to instantly burrow away. Takeru explained to Brolite that such large monsters were unsuitable mounts, prompting her to wonder if she should find a horse instead. Hofalnir quickly interjected, saying he didn't need one. Takeru then invited Brolite back to the city to explain everything. After treating her to a feast, Takeru explained his adventures since their last meeting, including forming a party with Clay and meeting Hofalnir. Brolite asked if she could join their party, and Takeru agreed immediately. Brolite proudly revealed her A-rank adventurer ring, surprising Clay, who she assured worked hard to achieve it. While Clay was excited to spar with Brolite, Hofalnir sensed Brolite had a pure soul, finding her spirit soothing. When Hofalnir began to refer to Brolite by a secret identity, Brolite quickly asked her to keep it private, which Hofalnir agreed to. Takeru then asked Brolite the real reason she needed his help. She revealed that her sister, Ludakara, the village priestess, had fled their homeland. Due to Ludakara's sacred role, village tradition required her to marry an elf to produce powerful children, but she refused to marry a random smelly man. Ludakara promised she would only accept the arranged marriage if she was given a beautiful white horse as a gift. Sadly, by the time Brolite finally procured the horse, Ludakara had already disappeared to get milk. Though Takeru felt uncomfortable with the seriousness of the situation, Brolite convinced him that he was the perfect person to find her sister. Takeru reminded Brolite that if he brought Ludakara back, she would be forced into a marriage she hated. Brolite clarified that she wasn't seeking to force her sister's return, only to understand why she had disappeared without a word. Understanding Brolite's sincere feelings, Takeru agreed to help and asked Clay and Hofalnir to join the quest. Both agreed without hesitation. Brolite then led them toward the elven village, explaining that they would find it once they stumbled across a forest that met specific conditions. Takeru was baffled that she could simply use any forest to travel home, but Brolite explained that she uses elven magic to manipulate space, creating a gateway to her homeland through certain points in the world, a process Takeru noted sounded similar to his own teleportation spell. Hofalnir excitedly offered to get everyone to the target forest at lightning speed. Transforming into her majestic horse form, she instantly captivated Brolite. They all enjoyed a comfortable, fast ride into the forest's depths. Upon arriving, Brolite used a summon spell to create a small, swirling vortex, the portal to her land. She instructed everyone to touch the vortex and close their eyes before entering. Brolite stepped through first, Clay and B followed, but Takeru hesitated, unnerved by the spatial gateway. Before he could enter, Hofalnir warned him to keep a close eye on Brolite, hinting that she carried painful secrets despite her cheerful demeanor. Hofalnir then passed through, leaving Takeru alone. He finally summoned his courage, touched the portal, and was sent through a spatial vortex into a vast, breathtaking elven land. Takeru admired the beautiful landscape, only to be met by his angry companions, beaten up from waiting so long. Before Takeru could ask what happened, arrows suddenly shot out at them. Takeru blocked the shots with a shield, and Brolite frantically asked him not to attack, realizing the archers were her own villagers. Soon, several elven villagers approached them, visibly angry that Brolite had returned. Meanwhile, deep within a dark cave, a small team of elf scouts discovers a peculiar monument. One scout reads an ancient prophecy inscribed there, which foretells that when the elves eventually lose their noble bloodline, an outsider will appear to revitalize their lands with new strength. Back with the party, Brolite attempts to persuade the lead elf that Takeru's group intends to assist them in searching for her missing sister. However, the elf criticizes her for violating their laws by bringing what he refers to as disgusting foreigners into their sacred territory. Enraged by the insult, Hofalnir steps forward to challenge the elf, revealing her true identity as a legendary beast. She screams at them for disrespecting her pride, and as the sky darkens with her fury, Hofalnir transforms into her horse form, striking the elves with a powerful burst of thunder. Her lightning causes a visible shock, and the elves immediately apologize for showing disrespect to a godlike entity. While Hofalnir remains infuriated, Takeru realizes they cannot understand her in her horse form because her magical power is overwhelming the communication. The elves then address Hofalnir, asking the reason for her visit, prompting Takeru to step in and explain. Since they maintain a cautious distrust of humans, the elves remain guarded. To alleviate their concerns, Takeru shows them his Adventurer's Guild ring and confirms that Brolite is an official member of their party. Satisfied, the elves finally agree to trust them and turn to lead them toward their village. As they proceed into the elven domain, Hofalnir senses an unwelcome presence emanating from the forest. After some travel, they arrive at a large lake centered around an enormous tree. As everyone observes the sight, Lil instructs them to purify themselves before entering the great tree. However, Clay and Takeru detect that the surrounding air is severely contaminated by mana. Because the toxic air is causing palpable discomfort, Takeru casts a full-power clean spell, successfully eradicating all the poisonous mana. Even Takeru is surprised by the potency of his spell, while the elves are left bewildered by what just transpired. Following this, Brolite leads the group upward into the great tree. She explains that the tree is named Gowan and serves as the emblem of the elven homeland. Brolite then discloses that only high elves are permitted to guide others to the tree's summit, confusing the group until she reveals that she is, in fact, a high elf. Feeling guilt over not having disclosed her royal heritage earlier, Brolite's hesitation makes Takeru wonder why her status is such a problem. She explains that high elves are forbidden from traveling outside their territory, meaning her entire adventure was a transgression of their laws. Clay adds that high elves are fundamentally expected to safeguard the purity of their elven bloodline. Takeru asks if Brolite's past travels resulted in the death of any relatives, but she assures him no one was harmed. He concludes that if no one suffered, things should be acceptable. He reminds her that she ventured out for love and assures her that minor bending of the rules was understandable. This eases Brolite, who, reflecting on her family, agrees that Takeru may be reasonable. He suggests that ancient rules might be outdated for the present, a point Clay supports. Hofalnir, meanwhile, pointedly states that high elves are a secluded, self-absorbed group who deliberately ignore the rest of the world. Seeing Brolite distressed, Bee rushes over to comfort her, and Brolite begins to weep, touched by their support. Witnessing her breakdown, Takeru realizes the immense burden she carried by admitting she had essentially committed a crime in the eyes of her people. Brolite then guides everyone deeper into the tree where they pass through a door leading to the High Elven Palace. Inside, a woman named Amber greets them. Brolite requests an audience with her brother, and Amber escorts them to a private room. Takeru and the others are offered fresh elf tea while they await Brolite's brother to arrive. Moments later, Brolite's older brother enters. She rushes forward for a hug, but he skillfully avoids her embrace. Takeru is shocked to realize this small elf is Brolite's elder sibling. Brolite introduces him as Arjun Seal, but Takeru struggles with the full pronunciation. Seeing his difficulty, Arjun invites him to use any name he prefers, and Takeru settles on the nickname R. Arjun accepts with a smile. He then walks over to Hofalnir to offer his formal respect, stating that her visit honors all elven lands. After acknowledging Hofalnir, Arjun shakes Takeru's hand, whose frail appearance surprises Takeru. Noticing Takeru's reaction, Arjun asks if Takeru is perhaps uncomfortable seeing someone of such short stature. Takeru awkwardly denies minding, and Arjun admits that despite the High Elves' grand posturing, they are all afflicted by a curse that results in their small height. Brolite finds his constant focus on the matter upsetting and tells him to stop dwelling on it. However, Arjun cuts her off, insisting that their bloodline is doomed, regardless of her feelings. The mention of the curse alarms Takeru while Brolite bursts into tears, asserting that she is doing everything possible to lift the affliction from their lineage. Arjun calms her down and apologizes to Takeru's group for his younger brother's sudden emotional display. Takeru accepts the apology, but is abruptly struck by the fact that Arjun referred to Brolite as his brother. Stunned, Takeru questions the meaning, and Brolite proudly clarifies that while she is outwardly female, she also possesses male attributes. The rest of the group remains perfectly composed about this revelation, leaving Takeru perplexed by their lack of reaction. Clay explains that having dual genders is not unheard of among lizard men, so the news does not shock him. Arjun sighs, adding that Brolite inherited this trait as part of the elves' curse. Considering the curse, Takeru asks Arjun why the mana surrounding the great tree feels so extraordinarily dense. Arjun is surprised Takeru can detect it and explains that the mana has been intensifying for approximately 6 months. Takeru then asks if he might be able to offer assistance, leading Arjun to escort the group outside to an open space. There, Takeru begins to form a magic stone using his own mana, catching Arjun entirely by surprise. The elf guards behind them warn Arjun to distance himself. Despite the warnings, Arjun remains beside Takeru, who finishes forming the stone. Takeru asks him to place his hand on it and say, "Start." Arjun agrees, but the guards rush forward to pull him away. Nonetheless, he successfully activates the massive stone, which ascends into the air, radiating a brilliant green light. As the luminous green stone spins, releasing purified mana, it cleanses the environment, eliminating all lingering toxic mana. Soon after, everyone finds their breathing much easier, and Takeru is pleased with the outcome. Brolite then glances at Arjun, who suddenly recalls the elven prophecy about an outsider restoring their land. Seeing Takeru's confusion, Arjun takes him to the elven shrine. Once there, Takeru comprehends the entire prophecy after a single reading, astonishing Arjun. Focusing on the part about the elves losing their noble bloodline, Takeru begins to question its meaning. Arjun believes it refers to the curse placed on the high elves, which causes Takeru to wonder if the prophecy's outsider might actually be him. Despite Arjun nodding, Takeru thinks he doesn't truly fit the prophecy because he merely purified the air, not the land itself. However, he does accept that the outsider must originate from a different lineage. Later, while bathing with Clay and Brolite, Takeru continues to reflect on the prophecy's underlying message. Remembering they still haven't located Brolite's sister, he decides that solving the prophecy must become his highest priority. After the bath, Brolite steps outside to enjoy the fresh air, and Takeru joins her. When he asks about the elven curse, Brolite remains silent. Just then, Amber approaches them from behind, offering to explain everything. Amber informs Takeru that the curse is a strange chronic illness that has rapidly spread among the High Elves. She notes that the disease first appeared in High Elf children several generations ago. However, about 50 years ago, the condition mysteriously worsened significantly, affecting their lives much more severely than before. Amber reveals that many newborn elven babies now do not survive longer than a week, leaving Takeru to question the disease's possible cause. Tragically, Amber doesn't know the cause either, and she breaks into tears, recalling her own baby's death and fearing the end of her entire race. While Brolite comforts Amber, Takeru considers how to solve this medical mystery. Sometime later, he meets the elven queen Melseria, who is immediately taken aback by the unusual color of Takeru's aura. Since Takeru is unaware of what she means, Melseria examines the hue of his mana closely. Before long, she notices B perched on his shoulder and instantly recognizes that Takeru is the most powerful being in their world, personally chosen by an ancient dragon. Excited by the recognition, B flies out to greet the queen. Melseria then thanks Takeru for purifying their land. He accepts her gratitude and asks if an earthquake a few months prior might have caused the mana in the air to thicken. The queen nods, surprised that Takeru correctly identified the cause, confirming that an earthquake was indeed responsible. Takeru then begins to suspect that the concentrated mana might have been triggered by the emergence of a powerful monster. Arjun asks the queen what their next course of action should be, prompting her to request Takeru's help with the situation. He agrees, but mentions he has one final request. The following day, Takeru gathers the group for a discussion. He uses a magic item to activate a soundproof barrier, ensuring their conversation remains confidential. Takeru announces that he has identified the source of the curse on the elven bloodline. He reveals that Amber, Melseria, and Arjun are all suffering from genetic disorders. Stunned by the revelation, Takeru asks Brolite about Amber's husband. Brolite reveals that Amber is married to her twin brother, allowing Takeru to piece together the entire issue. He explains that the elves are not actually cursed. They are suffering from genetic disorders caused by inbreeding. In their focused effort to maintain a pure bloodline, the High Elves consistently married close relatives, which ultimately led to this problem. Realizing this, Takeru understands that the prophecy was not about him being the outsider, but about the need for an individual of a different bloodline to revive the elves. He concludes that the elves can easily restore their health by marrying outsiders and introducing new blood to eliminate these genetic defects. When he proposes marrying elves from different countries, Brolite is astonished by the simplicity of the solution. Overwhelmed by the possibility of saving her race, she begins to cry tears of joy. However, Clay points out that the elves might be resistant to abandoning their centuries-old traditions based solely on their advice. Brolite thinks Arjun and her mother would readily listen, but Takeru wonders how to persuade the rest of the elven population. Ultimately, he asks Hofalnir to deliver his message with a stern warning, given the great respect the elves hold for her. Hofalnir questions his eagerness to help so many people, asking if Takeru is attempting to save the entire world for no personal gain. He responds that he is merely helping Brolite because she is his friend. Hofalnir agrees to deliver the message, assuring Brolite that she will help save her people. She then turns to Takeru and demands a massive reward in return, making him curious about what she could possibly desire. In the end, Hofalnir requests a substantial amount of buttered potatoes. Hofvalpnir proposes that they attempt to reach Libelania, the deity who governs and protects the elves. Without hesitation, she shifts into her horse form, and Bee climbs onto her back. The two of them fly off together, hoping to make contact despite the overwhelming mana pollution saturating the area. After some time, Hofvalpnir and Bee return, and their expressions immediately reveal that something is wrong. Hofvalpnir explains that she couldn't sense Libelania anywhere, not even faintly. The group concludes that the dense mana may be interfering with the deity's ability to communicate or reveal her presence. Wanting more information, Takeru decides to ask around town. Through Brolite, he learns about the Daimos Adventurer Guild, a well-known and highly respected guild among elves. Clayston recognizes the name and explains that the guild is famous, but notoriously secretive, often referred to as a phantom guild because of how little outsiders know about its operations. The group decides to visit, hoping the guild might have insight into the strange mana or information about Libelania's disappearance. Inside, they are greeted by the guildmaster, Agara, whose calm confidence sets the tone of the hall. While reviewing the request board, Takeru finds a posting for a rare material called cat ear mushrooms. Agara tells them the mushrooms grow deep inside Kieto Hollow, but warns them that the hollow has become extremely unstable due to a dangerous buildup of toxic mana. Because Brolite knows the area well, he volunteers to guide them. Before the group departs, Takeru prepares a set of enhanced magic tool potions specifically designed to protect them from the poisonous mana they will face inside the hollow. The following morning, they travel toward Kieto Hollow, riding on Hofvalpnir's back. As they approach the lake marking the hollow's entrance, they notice the bodies of powerful monsters lying motionless along the ground, all victims of the intense mana pollution. The air grows so dense with toxicity that both Brolite and Clayston collapse almost immediately, unable to withstand it. Takeru rushes forward and casts Clean, clearing the poisonous from the immediate area long enough for everyone to recover. He instructs the party to activate the protective potions he created. Once activated, each potion emits a soft glow, indicating that the protective enchantment is in effect. Hofvalpnir shrinks into her small fairy form so that she can remain within the radius of Clayston's protection barrier. They move cautiously into the cave, but the moment they advance deeper, a massive swarm of spiders adapted to the toxic environment ambushes them. The battle is fierce and chaotic, with the spiders emerging from walls and ceilings, attacking relentlessly. Takeru orders the group to fall back toward a larger open chamber where they have more room to maneuver. Once they reach it, he unleashes Desperate Barrier. The spell erupts outward in a devastating burst, obliterating the entire colony of spiders and even blowing a hole in the cave ceiling. The raw force of the spell leaves Clayston stunned, unable to comprehend the scale of power Takeru just displayed. As the group pauses to eat and recover, Brolite explains that they are only halfway through the hollow. He tells them that deeper inside lies an altar of foreign design, an eerie structure that predates most known elven history. They continue their descent until they reach a vast chamber illuminated faintly by clusters of giant cat ear mushrooms. Before they can gather the ingredients, a crushing pressure fills the air. The cave trembles as a massive creature approaches. Emerging from the shadows is a gigantic Kyoto dark slug, an S-rank monster mutated by the poisonous environment. Its presence alone is said to be capable of destroying entire kingdoms. Despite its overwhelming size, Takeru refuses to run. He calmly explains that the creature is vulnerable to fire, which makes B their strongest asset in this fight. Clayston shifts into his dragonkin form, readying his spear for combat. Takeru raises a triple-layered shield around the entire group and casts several buffs to strengthen their defenses. Even with these precautions, the monster proves incredibly difficult to fight. Its regeneration is almost instantaneous, and its antennae allow it to sense their movements with eerie precision. Realizing this is the key, Takeru instructs Brolite to target the antennae. Brolite charges forward and successfully destroys them, momentarily disrupting the slug's senses. B seizes the opportunity and unleashes a massive burst of fire, but to their frustration, the attack still isn't enough to finish the creature. Takeru quickly analyzes the situation and realizes the problem lies in the slug's moist skin, which protects it from heat and damage. To weaken the monster, he crafts balls of high-quality salt using his magic and throws them at the slug. The salt dissolves large portions of its skin, stripping away its natural defenses and revealing softer tissue beneath. Injured and desperate, the slug attempts to flee deeper into the cave, but Clayston intercepts it and drives his spear straight through its body, finally killing the S-rank threat. As they make their way back toward the entrance, they discover hundreds of slug eggs scattered throughout the chamber. Takeru examines them and realizes that the embryos will die if exposed to sunlight. Using his magic, he forms a massive sphere of artificial ultraviolet light and releases it across the chamber. The eggs shrivel and die instantly, preventing what could have been a catastrophic outbreak. Immediately afterward, a strange wind blows from deeper within the cave. Hofalpnir closes her eyes, then announces that the toxic mana has vanished, and that Libelania is finally calling out to them again. Afterward, Hofalpnir carried the group out of the cave and flew them toward a distant cliff overlooking the forest. As she descended, she noticed movement below and landed in a wide valley hidden deep within elven territory. The moment they touched down, everyone stopped, drawn in by the quiet beauty of the land. Hofalpnir mentioned that the guardian of the area should be nearby, but before they could move on, they noticed several elves hiding behind a stone wall. One of the elves tried to stop a woman from stepping forward, but she ignored him and walked straight toward Takeru's group. As she drew closer, Brolite suddenly froze. She immediately recognized the woman standing before her. It was her older sister. Clayston was stunned. They had not even found the guardian yet, and already they had run into Brolite's family. Hofalpnir quickly realized the truth. These elves had built a hidden settlement, living in secrecy to avoid the rest of elven society. As everyone watched the reunion unfold, something unexpected happened. Without warning, the sisters punched each other in the face. Brolite's sister shouted at her for even thinking about returning to their rigid homeland, while Brolite screamed back, furious that her sister had disappeared without saying a word. Her sister shoved her away, snapping that Brolite was always too worried to do anything right. Hearing that, Brolite's anger vanished and turned into concern. That only made her sister angrier. She did not want Brolite worrying about her at all. Brolite insisted that worrying about family was only natural. For a brief moment, her sister softened, then snapped again and called her an idiot. That was enough to restart the fight. The two of them wrestled and swung wildly, like a pair of feral animals. Watching the ridiculous scene, Clayston asked Takeru if he was going to stop them, but Takeru said nothing. It was Hofalnir who finally broke the tension by reminding him that it was lunchtime. Takeru told Brolite to stop fighting. She clearly reacted to the word lunch, but still refused to let go. When Takeru added that he would make special deep-fried chicken, Brolite immediately disengaged and ran off to clean herself. Her sister eventually calmed down as well. Takeru approached her as she stood back up, oddly refreshed after the fight. She commented that she never expected her unruly sister to make human companions. While she spoke, Takeru noticed her clothes were torn and quietly repaired them with magic. Surprised, she asked what he had done, and he simply replied that it was magic. Still, she felt something was different. His energy did not feel human. Hofalnir agreed and explained that Takeru's blessings had pushed his body beyond normal human limits. Clayston backed her up, leaving Takeru visibly embarrassed. Turning back to Brolite, her sister remarked that it must have been exhausting to deal with her. Despite Brolite's reckless behavior, Takeru said she had helped the party many times. Her sister was not convinced and believed Brolite's high elf heritage and cursed bloodline only caused trouble. Takeru answered calmly that he did not care about status or lineage and only saw Brolite as a person. That answer caught her completely off guard, and she smiled. As preparations for dinner began, everyone gathered together. Later that night, they ate alongside the elves. Brolite and her sister sat next to each other, still wearing stubborn scowls. Takeru laughed quietly at their attempts to act tough before slipping away from the noisy gathering. Sitting alone, he watched B slowly drift off to sleep. Not long after, Brolite's sister approached him and apologized for the noise. When Takeru said he did not mind, she sat beside him and thanked him for being Brolite's friend, admitting she knew how difficult her sister could be. She then showed him her child and explained that the baby was the reason she could never return home. She revealed that years ago, while sealed away as a priestess, she had fallen in love with Brolite. Brolite would visit her every day and tell her stories about the outside world. Those visits became everything to her, and eventually she wanted to marry Brolite. That dream ended when she learned of Brolite's curse. Takeru listened in silence. When she asked why he was not reacting more strongly, he admitted the story was simply too sad and he did not know how to respond. She laughed at his honesty. When she fell quiet, Takeru praised her for fighting so hard to build the life she wanted. Those words finally broke her, and she cried. When her partner called for her, she excused herself and left. Watching the sisters together, Takeru felt amazed that despite everything, they could still smile. The next day, the group ventured deeper into the forest. Clayston wondered if leaving Brolite behind was the right choice. Takeru said the sisters likely needed time together, and Clayston agreed. Suddenly, Hofalnir stopped walking and told Takeru to look behind him. When he turned around, he saw a strange goblin-like figure claiming to be the guardian of the land. Because Clayston could not perceive the spirit's true form, he was completely confused. The guardian clung to Takeru, complaining that the elves had misunderstood his guidance. Hofalnir confronted the spirit and accused him of abandoning his people. He fired back, mocking her for turning herself to stone to escape responsibility. As the argument escalated, Takeru tried to calm them down. When that failed, he told the guardian to return and properly guide the elves. After some resistance, the spirit agreed. They returned to elven territory together. In the palace, the baby was presented to the royal family. The elf prince and queen were overjoyed, but an elder erupted in anger, accusing the priestess of betraying tradition. She fired back that her child was healthy, something their obsession with purity had failed to achieve. Brolite stood beside her sister. At Hofalnir's call, the guardian appeared once more and scolded the elders for clinging to the past. Terrified, they fell silent as he reminded them that honoring tradition never meant isolation or inbreeding, and that healthy children mattered more. With the conflict settled, Takeru led his group away. As the elves discussed reform, Takeru decided it was time to leave. Clayston struggled with leaving Brolite behind, but Takeru explained that she had responsibilities now. Though it was difficult, they agreed. The next morning, everyone gathered to say goodbye. Brolite asked Takeru to stay longer, but he said she needed space. Tears fell as Hofalnir promised to help her if she was ever needed. Takeru chose not to reach out, knowing it would only make leaving harder. Days later, Takeru continued working as a gatherer. A month later, Brolite reaffirmed her decision to help her people. Near Takeru's home region, B defeated a powerful monster, though Hofalnir noted he struggled more than expected. B protested, and Clayston defended him. With their work done, Takeru announced he wanted to see the ocean. Clayston suggested a famous port town, and they agreed to finish their remaining quests first. Suddenly, a massive dust cloud approached. Takeru recognized a familiar stench as Brolite arrived atop her giant centipede. She explained that her family had encouraged her to explore the world. Hofalnir reminded Takeru that Brolite was still part of the team. Clayston laughed and told her they were heading for the sea. As Takeru looked at his companions, he reflected on everything they had been through. The future would be dangerous, but he felt ready to face it together with his friends. With that, Takeru declared their next destination. Before leaving, he reminded Brolite to send her smelly centipede away, making her laugh as they set off toward their next adventure.